Hi there, I'm Anna Seisling with Great Lakes Now, and I'm so excited to be joined today by Maya May to talk about weathered Earth's extremes. Maya, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I love talking about the show. Love filming it. Is really, really cool and insightful. So thanks for having me.
How would you go about describing Weathered to someone who has never seen the series before?
Weathered is an educational show about climate change. We really get into the weeds of climate change. We report on the latest studies from top climate scientists from around the world. We really get into these very complex scientific processes, but we explain it in a way that makes it easy for the average person to understand. That's Weathered in general.
Okay. And then tell me, though, a little bit about Weathered Earth's extremes and sort of, how this is different or similar to the other weathered content that folks have come to expect.
Yeah. So prior to Weathered Earth's Extremes, Weathered was and still is a web series on one of the many PBS YouTube channels. And our channel is PBS Terra. In our web series format, I talk about various topics around climate change from my kitchen. And in the long format TV show, Weathered Earth's Extremes, I got to travel around the country. I even got to go international to meet with scientists and community members that are on the front lines of climate change. Weathered Earth's Extremes is just more immersive, and I think that actually being in the place that's affected and talking to the people that are affected and seeing it better tells the story and gives viewers better perspective on how climate change is impacting our lives.
I definitely relate to that feeling of it's one thing to kind of read and have conversations from the comfort of a kitchen or a living room, but to actually go out and have boots on the ground and really be sort of at the front line, seeing how climate change is playing out in communities. So powerful. So tell me a little bit about some of the more memorable moments that you had from all of the filming that you did for this.
First of all the episodes are extremely informative and great and thought provoking, but I think the episode that hits the most home for me is our episode about heat. I got to go to Medellin to talk about strategies of how we can adapt to extreme heat. We also in that episode talk about the mechanisms that cause extreme heat. And I live in a very hot place. I'm from Atlanta. And heat is essentially why I decided to go down this path of wanting to be a science communicator and focusing on climate documentaries specifically. In Atlanta in 2019, we experienced the most 90-degree days on record. We reached 91 days, reaching 90 degrees or more. And it was during that time when I was like, okay, this is a problem. I need to focus on, communicating about climate change. And a lot of people really don't realize this, but extreme heat is the most deadly form of weather, period. Like, period. It kills more people every year than hurricanes, flooding, tornadoes combined. It is not hard to die from heat. So I think that episode is really important. And I think it will resonate with a lot of viewers.
And, talking so much about heat, I think it's really interesting. And I want to make sure that I point out that, Great Lakes Now actually did a pretty substantial look at the urban island heat effect. And that's something that doesn't just play out in these, more southern located cities and really concrete centric places. It's also playing out right here in the Great Lakes region, an area that a lot of different people have referred to as a potential climate haven. I wonder, you kind of explained a little bit about that episode, but I know that there are some other really exciting ones around like energy, agriculture. And I'm wondering, you are a science communicator, so I imagine some of this you already maybe knew about, but was there anything that you came away with being just totally shocked or surprised to have learned?
Yeah, and it has to deal with energy. It was probably in episode 5. The title of that episode is called Not Business as Usual, and in that episode we reach our main aha moment of the series. So essentially there are these different climate warming scenarios that are often referred to in popular media and scientific papers. And the worst scenario is referred to as business as usual. And this scenario assumes that we don't do anything to solve the climate crisis, and it paints a very, dystopian, very apocalyptic future where humanity can't survive on our planet. And again, the scenario is very prevalent in like the cultural zeitgeist. And, I think it fuels a lot of the climate doom that people feel. But the reality is we are not on that path. There are actually a lot of promising things that are happening right now in terms of the transition away from fossil fuels. And that's the main thing that's fueling climate change. And that transition away from fossil fuels to renewable energy like solar and wind is how we are going to solve the climate crisis. So, again, there are a lot of great things that are happening in that department. But yeah, just realizing that, man, a lot of the anxiety that I feel is rooted in something that's not actually true. We are not on this path of business as usual. We're not on this like worst case scenario path.
Talking a little bit about some of the other stories and topics that you delve into in the series, agriculture is something that's a pretty big part of life here in the Great Lakes region. And I know that you all took a look at really cool innovation and then also showcasing some of the shortcomings of like large industrial agriculture. So talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest lesson from an agriculture standpoint that I learned is that, we just have to find a way to grow food more efficiently. Agriculture is a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. I believe it accounts for 10% of the U.S. Greenhouse gas emissions, and that number is a bit higher globally. And it is also a huge source of water use in our country today. Agriculture accounts for about 70% of the water that we use in the U.S., and we're currently in a water supply crisis in many parts of the country. And that has potentially catastrophic implications, which we touch on and talk about in the show. So I think it's just crucial that we find ways to farm more efficiently. And in the show, we cover some of those solutions. In the 4th episode, we visit a farm in Michigan that's experimenting with precision farming. And essentially, that's farming management. It's a concept around farming management that uses technology like drones to optimize land use by telling farmers which areas of their land will provide the greatest yield. And that in turn optimizes water use. And this technology also helps with, fossil fuel emissions as well by, applying fertilizers more efficient. So again, just to sum all that up, I think the biggest takeaway from an ag standpoint is that, and we touch on this a lot in the show, is that we have to find ways to farm more efficiently. But there are solutions that are available to help us do that.
Well, Maya, before I let you go, and you've already been really generous with your time, I wonder if there's any one feeling, it sounds like maybe a little bit of hope and inspiration might be something that you hope audiences come away with after checking out Weathered Earth's Extremes.
The biggest takeaway that I want people all to leave with after watching the series is that, although climate change is very serious, and although it can be scary at times, there are a lot of things to be hopeful about. One of the biggest things that we talk about in the show is this idea of tipping points. We discuss some of these negative tipping points like the permafrost and coral reef tipping points. But we also discuss this idea of positive tipping points. And that's the idea that we are on this path of exponential growth of tipping points that will help us solve the climate crisis, like electrification and the adoption of renewable energy. There are a lot of great things happening, and I think we're kind of experiencing this, and we're going to continue to experience this snowball effect, that idea of positive tipping points in the right direction with climate change.
Awesome. All right. Well, Maya May of Weathered Earth's Extremes, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to make sure that we have links and resources and all that good stuff so that folks know where they can watch Weathered. And, always encourage folks to check their local listings if they want to catch the broadcast as well. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out our YouTube channel for even more Great Lakes Now. See you out on the lakes.